Okay, imagine this. What if the very lifeblood of a nation, home to over 240 million people, was just slowly running out? That's the story we're diving into today. We're going to follow the Indus River, which is the absolute lifeline for Pakistan, and see why it is now on the brink.
So let's just start with a single number. Less than 1,000 cubic meters. Now, this isn't just some random statistic. This is the amount of water available per person per year in Pakistan. And more importantly, it's the official international line for what's called water scarcity. And it's a line that the country has now officially crossed. And just look at how fast this all happened. Back in the 1950s, the average person in Pakistan had access to more than 5 times this amount of water. Think about that. To go from over 5,000 down to under 1,000 in just a couple of generations, well, that's an absolutely staggering drop. And it really sets the stage for the enormous challenge the country is facing right now. So how on earth did a nation so rich in water find itself in such a tough spot? In this first part, we're going to unpack the key reasons behind Pakistan's growing thirst.
This crisis is really fueled by a perfect storm of factors. You've got a huge and fast-growing population living in what is naturally a pretty dry part of the world, and almost everyone depends on one single river system. Now you throw in the ultimate wild card, climate change, with everything from melting glaciers to crazy unpredictable rains, and you have a recipe for disaster.
And here's where the story gets super focused. A whopping 90% of the entire country's water goes to just one thing, agriculture. That is one of the highest rates in the entire world. It's a legacy of old farming policies and a history of planting really thirsty crops. And it tells you right away where the biggest problems are, but also where the greatest opportunities for change might be.
See, the issue isn't just that farming uses a ton of water, it's that so much of it gets wasted. Just picture traditional flood irrigation. You're basically pouring water all over a field. Huge amounts of it just evaporate in the sun or leak away before a single drop even reaches the crops. The system itself is just incredibly inefficient. But in the middle of this massive national challenge, something really amazing is happening on the ground. Let's pivot to the story of local innovation, where communities are literally engineering their own survival with some pretty ingenious solutions.
So one of the biggest game changers is a really simple but brilliant switch in technology. Instead of flooding whole fields, modern drip irrigation delivers water drop by drop directly to the base of each plant. And the result? It's stunning. You save up to 50% of the water. That's half the water for the same, or sometimes even better, results.
And it's not just about how the water is used, it's also about how it's accessed in the first place. A lot of farmers rely on pumps to get groundwater, but diesel is expensive, its price is all over the place, and it's dirty. By switching to solar-powered pumps, they're tapping into a clean, sustainable source of energy and cutting their fuel costs by as much as 70%. It's a win for their bank accounts and a win for the environment.
And the innovation doesn't stop there. Beyond just being more efficient, communities are also getting smarter about conservation. They're building small, local dams and water storage tanks so they can capture that precious seasonal rainfall that would otherwise just wash away. This creates a reserve they can tap into during those long, dry seasons. Okay, so what does all this grassroots innovation actually add up to? Let's take a look at the real, tangible rewards that are coming out of this smarter approach to water management. So, what does this smarter watering actually mean for the farmers? Well, for many of them, it means a 20 to 30% jump in their crop yields. It's simple, really. More water reaching the plants directly means more food on the table and, crucially, more income in their pockets. It's a direct line from conservation to prosperity. And what's cool is that this creates this powerful positive ripple effect. It all starts with reliable, clean water. That leads to better health with fewer waterborne diseases. The bigger harvests boost incomes, which helps lift entire rural communities out of poverty. Each benefit just builds on the next. Now, this all sounds amazing, right? And it is. But here is the really tough question we have to ask ourselves. Can these inspiring local victories actually solve a crisis on a national scale? And that question brings us to our final section, the massive challenges that still lie ahead. We have to balance the optimism from these local projects with the stark realities of the bigger picture. Because as effective as these solutions are, they face some serious hurdles. There's limited funding, which means they can't be rolled out everywhere. Maintaining technology like solar pumps in really remote areas, that's a huge challenge. And here's the paradox. If you make it too easy to access groundwater, you run the risk of over-extracting it. basically draining the very resource you're trying to manage.
So this brings us to a really critical point. While these projects are absolutely life-changing for the communities they're in, they are not a silver bullet. On their own, they don't solve the monumental countrywide water crisis.
And those larger issues are immense. The population just keeps growing, putting even more pressure on the water supply. There are political tensions, both inside the country and with its neighbors, that constantly flare up over who gets what water. And looming over everything are the long-term, unpredictable impacts of climate change on the Himalayan glaciers, the very source of the Indus itself.
You know, this quote from the source material really just sums it all up perfectly. What these projects do is they prove that community-led action and the right kind of tech can make a real difference. But at the same time, they just throw the sheer scale of the ongoing challenge into sharp relief. You've got progress, but you've also got incredible pressure.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question for Pakistan's future. On the one hand, you have this incredible, inspiring ingenuity at the local level. On the other, you have these overwhelming challenges at the national level. Can the two be brought together? Can grassroots innovation and high-level policy join forces to secure the country's lifeline before it's too late? That, right there, remains the critical question.